Okay, please find your seats. Welcome to the public meeting of Lucia Mar Unified School District Board of Trustees. The board has been in closed session since 6:03 p.m. We're reconvening in regular session. And we have no announcements out of closed session. We did not take action on any items in closed session. Tonight, we have a student to lead our flag salute, Dr. Fawcett. If you would please introduce him for us.
My pleasure, President Martin. So I would like to invite up Oswaldo. Come on up, Oswaldo. And I'm going to read a nice statement about you that your principal wrote. So I'm going to embarrass you for a minute before you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So Oswaldo is an 8th grader at Mesa Middle School. He's a wonderful human with a huge heart. Anytime you see Oswaldo, he has a big smile on his face. His teachers say that he's really hardworking and he's always positive in the classroom. Even when things are difficult for him, he dives right in and tries his best. Oswaldo loves playing soccer and with his dad and his younger brother, and he also loves cooking with his mom, especially enchiladas. Oswaldo is working hard in school so he can one day become a doctor or an engineer. Thank you and welcome, Oswaldo. We're happy to have you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done.
Oswaldo.
Oswaldo, stay up there for 1 second. Por un minuto. Allegiance.
Thank you.
All righty. Under communications, the first thing is item of interest from the board. Would anyone from the board like to share anything? Miss Mamie Beignet.
Hi. I just wanted to share with everyone. I recently got married, so it's 20 days being married. Jose? This,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. Pretty happy.
Anyone else from the board like to share?
I will.
Trustee Kendall.
Yeah, on the 5th of this month, I got to go to Branch Elementary and read to a kindergarten class, and that was really fun. And the kids were attentive and lively, and that was really fun for me. I also did the California School Board Association had a legislative action week. And so I attended a webinar. We were focusing on issues of maintaining Prop 98 funding for our California schools and fully funding our COLA, and some legislative actions as well. And I met with on Zoom call with Don Addis and with Senator Limon and with staff for Assemblyman Hart, and so that's always fun to participate in that. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Mr. Fuller?
I had an opportunity maybe a week ago to go on a tour of campus here at the high school. I just would say we have some pretty incredible facilities. One's right outside here, the cosmetology department that I didn't know really existed 6 months ago. And you can actually get services there for quite a good price. And we had a great, our culinary department, nothing like that here. It was incredible. I couldn't believe we had some really nice stuff, bottom line. And PT, physical therapy room out on near the sports field. Nothing like that when I was here. If you got hurt, you just go sit on the bench and wait till you feel better. So it's really some nice stuff here, I have to say. So, and I want to thank Dr. Fawcett for pulling item 14 in light of how much controversy is going on in our country right now, so we have time to adequately deal with that.
Ms. Santos.
Yes, I would just like to say how proud I am as an American that our astronauts got home safely today. That's amazing. And it's wonderful to see all these programs. And I think, yes, we have the cosmetology and we have the culinary. And I think our next thing, I hope that our district can get into involved with Vandenberg and get into the astronauts and so forth. It's right at my door. And I think maybe this is future. So I know, Miss Anderson, your wheels are ready to go. So, and I would like to thank the family for coming today and speaking. You've got two wonderful sons.
All right. I'm
Oh,
just,
one more minute.
oh,
I'm not waving to Colleen. It's just I have where the rubber meets the road. I did.
we've got some injuries up here on our hands. Anyone else on the board? Last week I mentioned about my concern about the Department of Education possibly closing. Well, it looks like they laid off about half their staff. So far, we haven't heard the future of our funding for our school lunch program, which is very important, and our Title I funds, which is extremely important. Those are the funds that help us support our low income, our homeless, our foster kids, and then of course our IDEA money, which is the money that helps support our special ed students, our students with extra needs. And we really depend on that 7 to 8% from the federal government to help keep Lucia Mar and our students going. So tomorrow, don't be surprised if any school in the whole nation you see teachers and parents outside showing their concern about the funding, the potential funding loss that the federal government has been sharing. So I stand with them in solidarity, hoping that even if a department goes away, that our funding does not. So, okay, superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, President Martin. I have a few exciting events that I attended these past couple weeks. This last one was on Saturday. I attended our elementary and middle school robotics competition championships at Napomo High School, and Rebecca Immel and Megan Carlson are two wonderful teachers who helped organize that, amongst many other teachers who are coaches. And our kids had some phenomenal and very impressively performing robots that they walked through the competition. So that was a blast to see and something to be really proud about. I also wanted to share that I got to read on campus as well. I went to Shell Beach Elementary, where I read in Miss Limber's first grade class, and the kids were great. I followed the goat surfer, and he actually had goats in the classroom before I arrived, so I kind of felt a little bit like a letdown. But I still had a good time. So. And with that, the most exciting thing that I get to announce this evening is I get to introduce Mr. Ian Bewley, who's one of our wonderful music teachers, and he's going to invite up one of his students to perform for us. So welcome.
Yes, hi, hello again. So again, my name is Ian Bewley. I'm a music teacher here. Again, I teach across 7 different schools a week. And again, I love every minute of it. I'm going to introduce a student of mine. His name is Levi S. Landis. He is a 3rd grade teacher in Miss Holland's class at Lang Elementary. And this is a student who did not do music prior. I had him last year, and that was the first time that he's done music. And boy, he has fallen in love with it. And so I kind of taught him about a week or 2 weeks ahead of where our classes are doing now, which is our glockenspiel unit. And so he's going to come up and play a little bit of the glockenspiel, which is like the xylophone, but it's made out of metal. So he's going to be playing a few things. His first piece will be Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The other one will be a duet with him and myself, and we're going to play Welcome Children. And then the third one I'm going to talk a little bit about after the performance. Okay, so with that, here is Levi Aslantis. Now, before I take it to my others, I just want to say that yes, we are playing Glockenspiel on that kind of level. We can send it to you later, but what he was looking at was colored in notes. And so what we're using is, as you can see, we have colors on our scale for C. We have it with just colors first right now, but he was able to translate that to notes. Then we'll go from notes on a staff with colors, and then we'll take colors away so that they are reading on a staff. Now, one thing I didn't say is that that last piece, if it didn't sound familiar, that's because Levi Aslantis composed it himself. We are composing in our classes starting in third grade. So that's something awesome that we are doing in our class. And also really cool, I didn't tell this family yet, but at the very end, you know, music throughout history, through centuries, usually ends on 1-5-1. And that's what he did. Like he was able to just hear that and compose it, and he was like, "This is a good ending." So that's really awesome that he's able to be like, "This sounds like a good ending," and it's like, "Yeah, we've done that for centuries." So that's pretty awesome that he can do that on his own. So again, that was Levi Aslantis.
Mrs. Santos will never forgive me if I don't give Eli a pin too. You're a Dorothea Lange, so all those that made.
Same difference.
All right. Anything else from you, Dr. Fawcett, under the superintendent's report?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, before we move to the business of our meeting, and just so you know, if you're a student and you need to go home and do homework, I excuse you there. A couple of announcements before we get started with the official meeting of the Board of Education, where the public is invited to observe and provide comments. There are speaker cards in the lobby if you would like to speak on any of our items or on items not on the agenda. Elsa Hernandez, our interpreter, is directly behind that monitor for me. Hi, Elsa. And if anyone needs any kind of translation from Spanish to English, she is your gal and will help you out. There's decorum standards on the back of our printed agenda. The agendas are in the lobby. Please make yourself welcome with those. And then also thank you to our security team, which is outside. So I'm going to give you some words regarding public comment. Public comments are an opportunity for members of the community to address the Board of Trustees in the meeting of the school board that is open to the public. Members of the public are encouraged to address the board concerning any item on the agenda or any item of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 20 minutes for one subject matter under the discretion of the presiding officer. The board will not take any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. This is why the board does not respond during the public comment section of our agenda. It is important to recognize that opinions and comments shared here are those of individual speakers and may not represent the views of our district, the board, or our staff. Lucia Mar is committed to fostering an inclusive, welcoming, and safe environment at our meetings and at our schools. We respect everyone's right to express their ideas and opinions. All remarks must be free from personal attacks, particularly those based on legally protected categories such as race, religion, disability, and sexual orientation. Our district is dedicated to serving and nurturing all our students, guiding them to become responsible, ethical, and productive members of society. To honor this mission, please make sure your comments avoid profanity, demonstrate tolerance towards differing viewpoints, and exhibit exemplary conduct. Our students are watching and learning from us at all times. Please be aware that any disturbance or intentional interruption of the meeting is not permissible. Excessive disruption by any individual or group will result in the board president revoking the individual or group's privilege to address the board. Disruptive participants may be warned and, if necessary, removed from the meeting. We value your participation in the public meeting of the Board of Education and thank you for your cooperation in maintaining the efficiency, effectiveness, and stability of the CMR. Thank you, and I read that at every meeting. All right, so we're going to move on to the business of the district under our consent calendar. We have 9 items here tonight. These are very routine in nature. Did any board member want to pull or amend any of those items 1 through 9? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up to public comment. I'm opening up to public comment on items 1 through 9, the consent calendar action items. Seeing no movement in the audience, I'm going to bring it back to the board and close public comment to the audience. Does anyone on the board want to make any comments on any of the items 1 through 9? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion.
Go for it.
I'll make a motion that we move approval of the consent calendar items 1 through 9.
Second.
It's been moved by Santos, second by Stewart. Roll call vote, please.
Santos,
Yes.
Stewart,
Aye.
Condell,
Yes.
Naomi Bernier,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Okay, we're moving on to reports and presentations, resolutions, proclamations. Item number 10, school site presentation, Mesa Middle School. Dr. Fawcett.
Thank you, President Martin. It's my pleasure to invite up Mr. Michael Fleshman, the principal of Mesa Middle School. He's going to present, along with a few staff members, all the amazing things they're doing there.
Thank you, Dr. Fawcett. Thank you, board members. Thank you, LMUSD Cabinet, and thank you, community members, for allowing us to speak and share about our school today. We appreciate that. I'm Michael Fleshman. I'm the principal at Mesa Middle School, and with me I have more than a few. I've got Miss Mary Mosley, who's a teacher and our PLC coach. I've got Miss Sarah Ensign, who is our behavior TOSA. I've got Mr. Tom Hall, who is our AVID district coordinator, as well as a social studies and, director. Thank you. He's also a social studies teacher and AVID teacher. I've got Miss Mackenzie Howell, who is a leadership team member and a Math 7 teacher. I've got Miss Stephanie Lee, who's our assistant principal, and Miss Jill Scorby, who is our school counselor. All right, so presentation.
Press
click the arrow.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. This is our title page. So tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about how we are supporting the board and your strategic initiatives and goals in a couple of ways, in very specific ways. So we have, at Mesa, we have two leadership teams. One leadership team is our instructional leadership team, and the other is our cultural leadership team. And they both have different focuses. And our focus of our instructional leadership team is mainly around academic support and our implementation of professional learning communities. All right, so we're going to talk about that first. Professional learning communities, I'm not going to read this whole slide, but basically our professional learning communities center around these 4 questions. What do we want students to know and be able to do? How we know if they've learned it? And what are we going to do if they don't or already have shown us proficiency? At Mesa, we have systems in place to ensure these things. We have essential standards and learning targets that each of our teams develop on their own. We assess constantly to make sure our students are progressing along those. We provide intervention and enrichment along the way, and we track their proficiency so we make sure they're meeting the goals and we can see what we need to do to continuously support them. How that looks is this big cycle of inquiry, and this is what we do. You can see the 4 questions are up there along with this professional learning community cycle, and what we do along the way with each of these questions. Our teams, when they meet, this is a big part of our professional development time. Our teams, when we meet, also meet, and they're directed to meet around these 4 questions. So you can see, I'm not going to go through the whole slide, but you can see what they're supposed to do at each of these different questions. And mesmerizing. You can look at those fingers go forever. One of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is something that we do that is unique to Mesa, as we have these tutorials, which is a way to intervene and enrich. And I've got our PLC coach, who's an expert on that, who I'm going to bring over here, and she's going to talk about how we do this at Mesa. So, Miss Mary Mosley.
Thank you so much. So our tutorials are really trying to answer that question number 3, question number 4. What are we going to do if students don't get it the first time? And what are we going to do if they do get it the first time? And so tutorials happen about once a month, if not once every few weeks. You can see that we let teachers know dedicated time that they will have to be able to prep for these things, because providing intervention and enrichment, it does take some time to prep, and we're asking our teachers to do just a little bit more. So we give them these times, and you'll see that each tutorial cycle, we have a different priority. That means that, in particular, next tutorial, it's science priority. So I get a first shot at grabbing all the students that I need. And so that's really nice, because tomorrow I'm going to give them a check for understanding, and anyone that doesn't level up, I'm going to get to pull into my tutorial in a reasonable amount of time, like within a week, work with a small group of students so that I can guarantee all students can reach proficiency. Just sometimes we know they need a little bit more time and assistance. Tutorials is the answer to that. You can see that we offer so many different fun tutorials. If you see where it says boost, that would be an intervention. And so teachers choose students to come in to get a little bit extra help. And then our stretches is we want to stretch their learning, and that is an enrichment opportunity. Mrs. Carabantes offers loteria, which is culturally appropriate for Mesa. But you can also see our Mr. Hall over here. He's a history teacher, but he learn to draw. So what's really nice is this also gives teachers an opportunity to bring something that they're passionate about to their students and teach a slightly different subject. Here's the data. Again, I'm a science teacher, so I really like to see numbers. We have 486 students that we roster within days and get them into different tutorials. If they're not pulled into a boost, the students get to choose a stretch. And we do that. We're on round number 8. So that's a lot of data points. Each tutorial cycle, we offer about 28 to 30 different tutorial offerings from all of our teachers. On average, we are boosting or providing intervention for 40 to 50% of the population. And look at that data point. The number of times that we've intervened is 1,478 times. And so we're really proud of that. Lastly, I wanted to just give you some of our lows in this program, but also some ways that we know we still need to grow. What's great about tutorials is allowing students to experience different teachers, different classrooms, different mixings of their peers. Sometimes we even mix 7th and 8th grade, and so that's a really good opportunity to build community. Students are rewarded for working hard, and so when they are not pulled into a boost, they get to pick a stretch that they're kind of excited about. This provides less students being left behind on our learning targets, and again, gives us monthly intervention time that we can really kind of focus on to move the needle. But we know that it's limited time for staff to kind of prep, and so that really proves to be one of our biggest obstacles of not doing this every week. Again, limited priority. You can't always pull the students you need, especially if you're not that priority teacher. And then last but not least, intervention is difficult and doing it well is difficult. And so providing our staff with that professional development is something that we're continuing to work on. It's quite a process. Thank you for listening about tutorials. If you have any questions, let me know, either probably at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, at the end. Thank you.
Miss Mosley does a great job. She's humble, but she prepares all this stuff. So if you go back to this, we have a program called RTI Schedule that we purchased, but Miss Mary Mosley is behind, like getting it all organized and making sure everybody's doing it. And so it takes a while. It's a lot easier than the way we've done in the past, but it still takes some time. So she's the brains behind that, and you can see her energy, and wouldn't you love to be in her classroom? So the next thing we want to talk about is how we're supporting the health and well-being initiative and goals, specifically around our positive behavior intervention and support system. That's the focus of our other leadership team, which is our cultural leadership team. And so I'm going to have, who's coming up right now? Is it Miss Sarah Enzine's coming up, who has our behavior TOSA to talk about more details about PBIS.
Okay. So everybody on the screen, all of those beautiful faces, make up our cultural leadership team, or our Tier 1 behavior team. If you read the little titles at the bottom, you'll see that our team is very well-rounded. We have a parent, we have teachers, we have classified staff, we have our behavior TOSA, counselors, administrators. And the reason being is that everyone has a different perspective and a different role when it comes to student behavior, and so we wanted all of that feedback from all of those. So last school year, we earned gold recognition from PBIS California, and for the 2 consecutive years before that, we earned silver. And so what that means is, for silver recognition, we were implementing our Tier 1 systems with Fidelity full-wide. And so with gold last year, that was a really big step up for us, and that means that not only were we implementing Tier 1, we were also implementing Tier 2. And we showed that by having at least 70% of our students on Tier 2, so those students who need that extra support were positively responding to the interventions that we provided. We also had at least 80% of our students having only 0 or 1 major referral, because if students meet behavioral expectations, then they're probably not getting referrals to the office, which is great. And then when you can meet behavioral expectations, then academically you grow, and we had to show that. Well, we don't just self-report all of these things. We have an external reviewer, which is the County Office of Education, and they come and they do student and staff interviews, and they do classroom walkthroughs, and they give us feedback so that we can continue to support. They're actually coming next Tuesday to evaluate us for this year.
Okay, so what are Tier 1 and 2 interventions for PBIS? At Mesa, we've worked really hard on building a really strong Tier 1 foundation, where our team, our cultural leadership team, kind of provides not only professional development to all of our staff, but school-wide expectations for all of our students. Those expectations are explicitly taught and reinforced school-wide through our 5-star program. We also have kind of some professional development that's a little bit more individualized at times, where I can go in and work with, we have a lot of new teachers, but all teachers on providing feedback, kind of modeling strategies, sitting down and talking about specific students and how to kind of support that, and try and get as much kind of feedback from students, teachers, and parents as possible on that. Our Tier 2-3 team is a smaller team that meets, and that's kind of where our focus has been last year and this year, and what kind of got us to gold recognition. So most students are going to be, their needs are going to be met at that Tier 1 level, but we do have that group that aren't really necessarily responding to our Tier 1 interventions. So those are the students that get a little bit more support behaviorally at our Tier 2-3 level, and we have a form called a request for assistance that teachers, admin, any staff can fill out that gets sent to our Tier 2-3 team, and we take a look at that and kind of triage supports as needed. So something that we've really been focused on this year is our check-in, check-out system, where students who need a little bit more support check in positively with a teacher at the beginning of each period. At the end of each period, they get a little score based on their behavior and get that immediate feedback. At the end of the week, they meet with me, we kind of calculate scores, we talk about our week, we look at our progress, and then we get a little bit of positive reinforcement through whatever they prefer. Most of the time it ends up being a positive phone call home, which is nice. We also have kind of a check and connect program that we're using for those students that might be a little bit more withdrawn and they just need a safe, trusting adult on campus. They get to show up and connect with an adult and have a relationship, have somebody to go to if they need something. And then our amazing counselor also provides a lot of support, counseling groups, small group instruction for students who might need a little bit more proactive teaching for behaviors. That's all happening at the Tier 2 level. This year is our kind of pilot year with SLOCO for our Tier 3 interventions. So we're starting prevent, teach, reinforce. So if we're not seeing the data showing that they're improving that behavior at Tier 2, we're moving up to Tier 3. And with that, we're taking a ton of data on how students are performing in class. And then we can either intervene with a general education kind of function, or we've gathered a ton of data if we need to like look at maybe assessing for an IEP.
So this is our roadmap through the last 5 years with our PBIS journey. Worked with SLOCO in partnership with them. And we've been grateful to have their guidance throughout this journey. I'm not going to read all of those bullet points to you, but we would love for any of you to come to Mesa to come see this in person, because it's just not the same, me reading all of those off to you. But I do want to point out that the gold recognition last year, it's not a coincidence that Sarah's face is right next to that, because we were able to hire her in the role of behavior TOSA and our Tier 2-3 coordinator at that time. And Sarah does a lot in this role. She meets with teachers when they have behavioral concerns over a student, over a group of students, over the entire class. She gives them strategies, she observes students, she manages all of our Tier 2 intervention kiddos, and does all their data, calls all their parents, updates all the teachers on the best strategies that are going to work for them. She does our PD, she manages our data for our Tier 2-3 meetings, and the list is endless. And so, we just got our FTE, and of course, we prioritize teachers in the classroom, but it would be great if we could also prioritize this position as well, because, coming back from COVID, I think you've probably heard this from every school that behaviors are different and behaviors increasing. So having an expert on behavior has been key.
So, this is a lot of work. As you can see, there's a lot of words that went on those slides, but there's a lot more work that goes behind that. And we've tried to take a really systematic approach to this, and systems are in place because of the people behind them that work those systems. So the things that we're asking the board to do and consider, and cabinet as well, is that in order for us to continue a lot of this work, we want to continue our partnership with the County Office of Education. They've been integral in their support and coaching of us. Also, as Ms. Lee mentioned, Ms. Enzine's position as behavior TOSA has been integral to our ability to do all these systems. I love my job. I know Miss Lee loves her job, but our jobs are big and don't allow us to do those real fine tuning things that Sarah's able to do. And then district-wide commitment to PBIS. We are not perfect. We are growing. We are learning. And so any more partners, I know Lang is in there, but there's lots of other schools. And so the more schools that we have on board with PBIS, the merrier for us and the more we learn. So I also want to invite all of you guys, cabinet included, but the board members, to Mesa. Come and see us on any day, especially tutorial day. We'd love for you to give us feedback on how we're doing and what more you would like to see, as well as just share the successes we're having. So please feel free to come to Mesa and join us. And with that, we thank you.
All right.
Stay for questions.
Did anyone from the board have any questions for Mr. Fleshman?
A statement, maybe?
I will make comments after questions. Hold on. Any questions? Seeing none. This is a report only, but did anyone from the audience want to provide public comment on this report? Seeing none, I'm going to close it to public comment, bring it back to the board for comments. Trustee Mamie Bernier.
Thank you. Thank you. Great presentation. I could feel your energy, all of you. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board like to make a comment?
I know
Ms. Santos?
we have some items coming up, and I don't know if that's on, if it's on our little calendar or whatever, but I will check and see, and maybe we'll be up there visiting you.
We'd be happy to have you.
Anyone else?
I guess the ask is that send the tutorial dates to Dr. Fawcett so he can get this out to the board.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
Thanks.
And I just,
Thanks.
I know all of you are working so hard, and we really appreciate all that. And I'm not surprised that Sarah Ensign is a great teacher. She comes from a family, a mother who was also a great teacher at Lucia Mars. So you're lucky to have her. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that was item number 10. We're moving on to item number 11. Report approval, Prop 28, Arts and Music, K-12 Education Implementation. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, President Martin. I'm happy to invite up our CTE coordinator, Kristen Anderson, and two wonderful teachers, Kev McDonald and Jenna Drain, to take us through this report this evening. There is just more good news to be had, and things are great out there in elementary education, which is what we're highlighting this evening. So with that, I will turn it over to this team for a presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon, and I'm going to turn it right over to Mr. McDonald.
Good evening, board and cabinet. Thank you very much for your support of the arts and music and for including us tonight. March is Music in Our Schools Month, but we are fortunate to celebrate music here in LUCMR all year long. Our every single TK through 6th grade student receives music every week. You'll see times listed here for what those individual class durations are. The focus of our program is learning through play, and then transcending play into performance. And this does exceptional things for our students. It not only does it fortify their academic success and also progress, it helps them develop life skills, build creativity, and many more things as well. A brief overview of our program. You'll see Mr. Mike Whitson, one of our team superstars here. Mr. Mike loves in particular STC and TLC music. He sees every TLC and STC music every single student district wide every week. Their joy is incredible. We invite you to come see it in person. It's truly transcendent. Our very early students, TK, Kinder, and 1st grade, we're really establishing learning through play and creating positive community with each other through the joy of music. There are some moments where we're sitting and singing. There are lots where we're standing and dancing. Dance is just music we can see. So if you're in these classrooms, please do sing with us, move with us as well. Our 2nd grade students are beginning to fortify their foundations of music literacy and also music performance as well. This grows through several different instruments into what you saw earlier with our fabulous Levi's performance. Third grade students begin to compose. They continue performance as well, which leads them into our fourth grade year, where we're really creating foundations for string instruments and developing chordal development in their hands. This also goes into trumpet and clarinet, which culminates their elementary music experience with what we call instrumental music. Currently, that's featured featuring each classroom as a bunch of small bands. This could grow and expand into various different instrumental areas in the years to come. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Drain to talk about elementary art.
Thank you. Hello, it is so nice to see your fabulous faces. I am Mrs. Drain. This is my 15th year here at Lucia Marr and my first year beginning our elementary visual arts program. And I could not be more thrilled to have this opportunity. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Our elementary arts program focuses on 3 core pieces. We have hands-on creative projects that we do at every single art lesson that I teach. Those are based in California art standards. We prioritize the elements and principles of art as they are key concepts when students are making an artwork, so they're becoming familiar with them. They understand that they are part of the art making process, and then we always incorporate some sort of art history and art appreciation as well. Art lessons and the schedule that we've come up with this year. Every art lesson is 40 minutes, so it's 40 minutes of fabulous magic. I spend trimester rotations in kinder, where I see those students every other week. My first grade students I see every other week the entire year, and my gosh, are they growing right now? My second grade students I also see on a trimester rotation as well. So after a 2-week time period, I have taught over 1,000 students in our 11 elementary schools, which is extremely exciting for me to do. In kinder, it's all about expressive mark making. So as we are introducing some core concepts to art with the elements and principles of art, line, color, shape, texture, we look at artworks by artists that are famous artists like Bridget Riley, Piet Mondrian. I try and work in some of their core curriculum with shapes and lines and those sorts of pieces, really giving them an opportunity to use those fine motor skills as they express through the making of art. First grade art is about building that creative toolbox. So again, we use the elements and principles of art as ways to inspire art making, line, color, shape, pattern. These are focused elements you'll see in their artwork. We introduce other art concepts like what is a landscape, what is radial symmetry. Those also become pieces you'll see in their art making. And then we build their art skills. I want them to draw in oil pastel. I also want them to draw in Sharpie. They collage, they do printmaking. The more that they can get their hands on, the better. We do look at artworks by famous artists. They are incredibly excited to see Starry Night by Van Gogh. They know that one. It's in the Minions movie, if you didn't know that. We look at abstract paintings. We look at sculptures like Yayoi Kusama's. We look at artists from all walks of life, and I find that that is incredibly important because I want all students to feel like they're represented within the program. In first grade art, one of my biggest pieces that I bring to the table is the art and literacy connection. So I use books to introduce artists to tell about their lives and their experiences. I use books to talk more about art concepts in depth. Stories inspire creativity. They find that they want to be like the artists, and they highlight those life connections. So hello, goodbye summer. Hello, summer. Excuse me. Goodbye Summer, Hello Autumn, we're talking about the seasons. Arctic White, we're talking about the Northern Lights. And in every art project that we do, it is all about celebrating students' creativity and their ability to communicate through the art making process. Second grade, we are taking it to the next level. So here we are fostering creative independence. And this is where, again, elements and principles of art come back, but now we're building on them. So students understand color. Now we're going to talk about warm colors and cool colors. Students maybe have played with paint, but now we're going to be painting and using a resist method and what happens when you put salt on it and how exciting that process is. We make life connections. So their artwork is about things that they've experienced, flowers, animals. We even go out into cultural elements like mandalas. In second grade, Again, bringing in those art elements that are art history, art criticism. We're looking at artworks and identifying where the elements and principles of art are. We're finding those life connections, looking at arts that are culturally relevant to students. And each lesson certainly fosters their creative independence. And I would say most certainly in second grade, we're talking about this idea of resilience. I've made a mistake. What do I do? How can I bounce back from that? I can still be proud of what I've created. So thank you so much. I will continue to build this program with all of your fabulous support. And please come see art. I'm at all schools.
Bo. I would like to speak a little about our middle school art and music with our Prop 28 funds. As you guys all are well aware, with our Prop 28 funds, we have added art into our middle schools as well. And that is what we chose to do at all 3 of the middle school sites. So now each of the middle schools have 2 sections added of the arts. We also continued along with our wonderful music, and we had had that before, but we still have our wonderful bands at all 3 of the middle schools as well. And just to highlight, they were all in, or recently we just had many students earn spots in the county honor band. So that was very exciting for our students. In the high school, we, as you guys know, as we've alluded to earlier, that we have a very good, robust sections of arts in all 3 of our all 5 of our high schools. But we have done some adding, and because we know with our prop monies, 80% had to be spent on staffing. And so we had the opportunity to add some sections at the high schools. So we added some cosmetology sections at Arroyo Grande High School along with choir. We expanded the floral program at NHS. They had so many students, so that afforded them another section. Same thing with product innovation and design. That was also there, but because they had such interest, it afforded them another section. At PVA and Lopez High School, they have their first digital media arts, which is also CTE. Just got to put a little plug in there too for my, for our other programs. But that was exciting as well. At Central Coast New Tech, they have been using their Prop 28 funds for enhancements, and next year they will be adding theater to theirs as well. So that's where we have been with the middle schools and the high schools. And kind of talking a little about the funding. We have added 9.3 FTE with our VAPA funds. And again, that was at 80%. And with the elementary music, our 20% that we can spend on supplies and equipment, we have been building up our band equipment, because to put an instrument in every student's hand, we had to build that up. So last year and Kev could probably speak to this better, but we bought a lot of instruments.
We did. Yeah.
And this year we bought a lot of instruments. So we are doing our best to build up that inventory for 6th graders. We're going to next year get it down into the 5th grade, and eventually our hope is that we can have some instruments for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. In the middle schools, there has been approximately $37,000, and those funds have been used to supplement and enhance what they're already thriving visual performing arts, and buying some stuff for their new art programs. And with high school, same thing. Over the high schools, there's approximately a little over $83,000. And again, those funds have been used to supplement field trips, classroom supplies, replacement of outdated equipment and such. So that's kind of how our funding has been for the last 2 years. And again, I just want to, all of this magic has been happening in just 2 years. The magic from the music team, the magic from Miss Drain has happened in the last 2 years for our students. So this is a process, and we are still on our journey right now of making this program the best that it can possibly be for our students. And I just think sometimes that we have to remember we're only in year 2 of this magic. So at this time, I'll turn it back over to the board.
Does anyone from the school board have questions for Ms. Anderson, Ms. Jenna Drain, Mr. McDonald?
Have statements.
Any questions? Questions?
Thank you. I have a question. In regards to the band, the uniform that they use, how often does that get replaced?
So in elementary, we don't use uniform. Uniforms are used in secondary schools. It's program based, so is different based on the needs of each site, what their program focus.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'm going to open this up for public comment. Would anyone in the audience like to provide public comment on this item, item number 11, report approval, Prop 28, Arts and Music K-12 Education Implementation? Seeing none, I'm going to close it to public comment, bring it back to the board for comments. Would anyone on the board like to make a comment? Ms. Santos.
Yes, I don't know, but in my profession from the hairdressing business, color coordination and how people dress and what's the colors to become, it's very important. So as you have a client in your chair, you always put a cape that becomes them. Or when you're done and you're combing them out, or even like men, when you're cutting their hair, wear a cape that becomes them, makes them feel good about themselves. So color is very important. Yes. And if Miss Dixon will remember, now we have a spot where we can get our kazoo band.
This might be the spot. Yes, we are looking, Ms. Santos, at increasing opportunities for student performance. So you never know. Perhaps one of those may take the shape of kazoos.
That way, parents will come when their young ones are involved. And so, and having been in music, I went all the way to Long Beach for the band review. They forgot my uniform. So, yeah, it's great for kids. It's a way for them to express themselves. You know, when nobody's listening to them or they feel out, get involved in their music.
And what did you play, Ms. Santos?
I played clarinet from the 5th grade all the way through high school.
There you go.
And then I played the cymbals in the marching band.
There you go. Anyone else have comment on this item?
I do.
Ms. Kendall.
Prop 28 passed the same year that I came onto the board, and I'm incredibly happy to be part of being able to implement this program as a board member. And Mr. McDonald and I were colleagues at Pomo High School back in the day, and I can say he's probably one of the most collegial and authentically kind people. Probably embarrass him that I said that, but it's true. And I just am thrilled about this program and the expertise that we have. And both of you, all three of you, are just doing an incredible job. And thank you so much for your hard work.
And I'm going to top that too. I one of the things that makes this even more exciting for us and for you is that Prop 28 music and arts funding is in statute. They can't take it away from us. The voters voted it in. And so we know the connection between music and math. We know the connection between art and math. We know that if a child does well in the fine arts, they usually do well in their core subjects too. And so they complement each other. And so that's what makes it so important. I learned the flute in 2nd grade. I wasn't in the marching band. I was in the concert orchestra. But I did feel like you learn things about how processes work, problem solving, all those things. And so it's just so exciting to me to see just these photos of the kids, whether they're on the bucket brigade or, they're singing with a teacher playing the guitar. I just love it. And Ms. Drain, your work is amazing, bringing in all those classical artists to kind of model to the kids what someone did at some point. Georgia O'Keeffe, look at all she did was paint flowers, and look at her. So thank you very much for all you're doing. We're very excited. Okay, anyone else?
No, I will say that my son went to the Art Institute in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, they are. Sorry. Okay, so this is a report, but we do have to approve it, but you guys don't have to stand up for the approval, but we'll do that. I am looking for a motion to approve the Prop 28 Arts and Music K-12 Education Implementation.
Move approval, Prop 28, Arts and Music K-12 Education Implementation.
Second. It's been moved by Stewart, second by Kendall, to approve item number 11. Roll call vote, please.
Stewart?
Heck yeah.
Kendall?
Yes.
Santos?
Yeah.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, you guys. What? Oops, 6-0. Sorry, Ms. Pham's not here. Item number 12, report approval, fiscal year 2024-25 second interim financial report. And before you get started, Mr. Eichberger, I just wanted to make sure that this was the right thing for me to read.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay. While I don't have fun pictures of the Bucket Brigade or representations of student art, I have for you words and numbers. And today I am going to be talking about the second interim budget. However, I have to pause before I begin and just give a huge thank you to Director Siebert and the business department. Their persistent effort to provide the most accurate budget picture, and this, given the shifting state and federal revenue projections, is very important. So when you talk about this almost ream of paper, the amount of endless hours and days and weeks that go into each of these interim budget reports is a true testament of the hard work of the business department. I just want to recognize that before I start off. This is a snapshot, so it is the second interim, and this covers all budget amendments from July 1 through January 31st and provides that current fiscal outlook. And as part of all of my interims, I make sure that I highlight enrollment because as a district, we have had that declining enrollment trend over a 10-year period. However, I do want to note that we are up a tiny bit from the seabeds count, and I'll talk a little bit more about attendance and getting kids to school as being very important, especially given the illness and such that is going around. To note, month 7 was really bad in terms of student attendance, meaning average daily attendance, which is how we receive our revenue. It's a percentage of the number of students enrolled and how much they come to school. Month 7 was 93%, and that actually drug down our year-to-date average. It drug it down 0.54% from comparing the exact same snapshot in time to month 7 last year. So February was bad. Hopefully we got through that terrible flu season and we're able to really focus on positive attendance. So highlighting key changes from the first interim, there was a shift in terms of our expectation related to COLA. You'll notice one's in red, one's in green. That denotes that 25-26 went down and 26-27 went up. Remember, these are estimates tied to what the federal government has set for estimates for statutory COLA. I do want to make one note related to COLA. This is set at the federal level. However, the state has to determine how much they are going to fund for COLA. And when we have a budget year like the current year, where part of the budget was holding back $1.6 billion of state dollars as a delayed settlement to Prop 98, it makes us weary as we look at those out years because there is still some uncertainty. Which brings us to our assumptions. These are the data set that we use to determine how much revenue we think we're going to receive and how much we are going to spend in terms of expenses. So I'll just highlight the key ones. COLA, just talked about it. However, along with that is the TK change, meaning next year our transitional kindergarten is shifting from 12-1 student to adult ratio to 10-1 student to adult ratio. And you'll notice the add-on amount is $3,077. That's how much we received current year. There is speculation in terms of what will occur next year, meaning is that add-on going to go up or not? There are a lot of budgetary things that there's still some uncertainty, but this is the number that is actually in the FCMAT calculator, and this was also reaffirmed by School Services of California as the amount we should be using right now, given the uncertainty as it relates to the budget. The green I'd like to highlight is that the multi-year projection will show an assigned compensation for all employee groups of 2% for 24-25, meaning a 2% raise across the board for the current school year, and then highlighting that we are having planned spend down of our reserves as it relates to intervention teachers. They're shifting back in to the LCAP, so we'll be spending down some of that extra LCAP supplemental and carryover or concentration carryover. And then our intervention aides, our instructional aides that are typically supporting kindergarten, are going to remain in learning and recovery at minimum for current year and next year. And the purple reserve for economic uncertainty, I will talk about now. One thing that we do as part of our budget is we have to have a 3% mandatory minimum reserve. And this slide shows, yes, our ending fund balance is going down, and you see the beginning balance of the next year. And ultimately, the line to focus on is that excess reserve for future economic uncertainty, or that purple. This shows that we are able to have a positive budget at our multi-year, all 3 years. And so in 26-27, we do still not only meet our minimum reserves, but we also have a little bit for that uncertainty. Which brings us to the actual MYP. This has all of those data points rolled into one. And ultimately, we are sitting in a spot where we have a positive ending fund balance on year 3. And I know the question is going to come, so I'm going to beat it right now. That 3% mandated reserve is the equivalent of approximately 2 weeks of district payroll. So then you add that extra reserve for economic uncertainty in year 3, and it's about 1 more week. So in total, by the end of year 3, we have about 3 weeks of excess, or 3 weeks of actual reserve for that positive certification that we have. And I will end with we will continue to watch all of the information that comes out of school services, the legislative analyst's office, and ultimately we'll bring back a draft budget for you to preview and then approve later this year.
Does anyone from the school board have questions for Mr. Eichberger on the second interim report? I know many of you called in and asked yours ahead of time. I know I did. All right, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Would anyone in the public like to comment on this item, the report approval fiscal year 2004-2025 second interim financial report? Seeing no movement in the audience, I'm going to close it to public comment, bring it back to the board for comments. Would anyone on the board like to make comments? I know I had comments after reading this. Yes, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you, President Martin. I just always like to highlight the why of the positive rating, the why that's important to us, and especially because at the last meeting we started approving the issuances of Measure H, and that helps us get the best bond rating for, right? So it's part of our fiduciary responsibility. That's also the trust the public puts in. So the fact that we get that positive certification is going to help us with our bond issuances. So thank you for that. Thank you, Director Siebert.
Any other comments? Well, you know me, I like to tag on, and Mr. Eichberger already stole my thunder by asking. I've always been concerned that our amount of mandated reserve is 3% of our budget, because at half a month's payroll, a lot of people work for private companies and they wouldn't feel that comfortable knowing their boss only had half a month's payroll in the bank, wondering where their future pay might be coming from. So that is one reason why we like to have a little bit extra at the bottom to carry over to the next year, because we never know when we might have to dip into that reserves. During the famous recession of 2009-10, the ending fund balance on that first year was $56,000 over our 3% reserve.
those were many months of school board members and school administrators not sleeping well, because $56,000 can go pretty quickly when you get a rainstorm with wind and you got a roof leak, and oh my gosh, you have to fix it, right? So anyways, it's always my concern that we always have enough in reserve to take care of our employees and our students. The district to the north of us likes, to quote them, to have 10% in reserve. I'd like to have that in reserve, but it's mandated by law to have 3%. So Mr. Stewart touched on it. Ms. Siebert, I see you there, wave your hand. Kudos to you for all your hard work. I went through Fund 40 and 41 with Mr. Eichberg today, just kind of running through some of the items, so thank you very much. Okay. I do need an approval on this item.
Move approval fiscal year 2024-2025 second interim financial report.
Second.
It's been moved by Stewart, second by Santos. Roll call vote, please.
Stewart?
I'll give this a heck yeah. I don't want to play favorites.
Santos? But of course. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Kendall?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 13, approval. I've got it all wrong. Sorry. Let me get my notebook. Report approval fiscal year. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My notebook is.
We are on the Finney Architect.
Yeah, approval, professional service work order with Finney Architects, Inc. for architecture design services for new classroom building at Napomo High School, project number 5102, State Match Fund 40. And that state match fund is very important.
Yes,
Mr.
and
Eichberg.
I will touch on it very briefly. I only have an hour for this item. Just kidding. I did want to show some visuals just to put a context of the classrooms we are talking about. So you'll notice that highlighted area towards the lower portion of the picture, that does contain some portable classrooms. And with the passage of Measure H, we are able to look at replacing some of those portables district-wide. Remember, that's the goal, replace portables with stick-built. And this particular project will allow us to remove those old portables that all qualify, or that will qualify by the time we demolish them, for state match money. So the question might be, why are we moving Napomo High School up sooner in terms of the development? Is because we are going to maximize that state match. Remember, the state passed Proposition 2, and that line for funding is growing very quickly. And we want to make sure we have our ticket in for that queue in the line, especially for a site that does have a lot of portables. And this will allow us to build 16 standard 960-foot classrooms and one jumbo classroom that's designed to support students with special needs that will have an embedded restroom, as well as 2 single occupancy restrooms, all within that footprint. I know you might want to see a drawing. This is a representation only, meaning the layout is going to change. This was designed just so that you can see a little bit closer of what that highlighted area could look like. The doors could change in terms of placement. The orientation of the rooms could potentially shift, but ultimately we are looking at what is going to be a cost-effective and also lead to a positive image for the school site in terms of it. Those classrooms will directly face the forum and the central part of campus. So it's important that we get the orientation and the layout right while still considering the importance of being fiscally sound. So this evening for you, I do have the contract for approval for Finney Architect. It is out of state match money, meaning this project will have the architecture paid out of state match. However, the actual building itself will come out of Measure H Series A when we have our first bond sale.
Nice. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Eichberger on this exciting project? What is a jumbo room?
A jumbo classroom is about the size of 1.5 regular classrooms. So when we think about our transitional kinder and kindergarten classrooms, instead of being 960 square feet, they're a little bit bigger, and they have embedded restrooms. So they have extra floor space and a restroom inside. Not only is that beneficial for our youngest learners, but it is also extremely beneficial for our learners that have high special needs and disabilities, where they benefit from having a restroom inside the classroom. So this would be a space that is designed intentionally for that purpose and in the center of the campus.
Any other questions for Mr. Eichberger on this project? Okay. I'm going to open it up to public comment. Would anyone in the audience like to comment on this item? Item number 13, approval professional service work order with Finney Architects for architectural design services for new classroom building at DePomo High School, project number 5102, State Match Fund 40. Seeing no movement, I'm going to close it to public comment, bring it back to the board for comment. Would anyone on the board like to make comment on this item? Mr. Fuller.
Just comment, we'll see where this goes, but it'd still be my wish that, I know this is only design, but it is $720,000. I still think we need to put those kind of things out for a bid. But that's my thinking. I think it's a big amount to just get one bid, even though it is design.
Any other comments from the board? Well, I think this is really exciting. This is in the center of campus. It's hard to imagine, but our first class that graduated from NAPOMO was, I believe, 2005. And so we're talking 20 years already. They also, portables or temporary classrooms are not very sustainable as far as our electricity bills, our ongoing costs for keeping them heated or keeping them cool. And so we're better off with a stick-built permanent structure that where we can put HVAC in. Today's CSBA readout, I don't know if you read it, where some study came in and said that students in classrooms with air conditioning and proper heating do better. Well, yeah, of course they do. So anyways, I'm very excited about this. I'm glad to keep the architectures here locally with Finney, and that's great. I do need approval for this item, item number 13.
Okay, move approval of professional service work order with Finney Architects, Inc. for architectural design services for the new classroom buildings at NAPOMO High School, project number 5102, State Match Fund 40.
I second.
It's been moved by Santos, second by Naomi Bernier. Roll call vote, please.
Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Kendall?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Martin?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0 with a little ricochet going on over here. Item number 14 we have pulled for right now, and we are moving on to item number 15, approval, second reading, revision of board policies. Dr. Fawcett.
Thank you, President Martin. As you mentioned, this is the second reading of the board policies, and you had them before you at the last meeting, and today they are before you for your approval, hopefully. And these are a board policy related to transportation, recruitment and selection, and bargaining units.
Does anyone from the board have questions on these policies for Dr. Fawcett? This is the second reading, so we did most of our question asking last go around. Seeing none, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anyone is welcome to come forward and provide public comment on the second reading revision of board policies, item number 15. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment, bring it back to the board for comment. Would anyone on the board like to make comment on this item? Well, I left all my Post-it notes on last meetings paperwork, but I did ask plenty of questions last time. Most of these, all these policies come down to us from the state regarding how bargaining units work, the transportation, the HR laws. These are not something that Lucia Mar is willy-nilly creating and pulling out of the hat. This is something that is we're just updating to meet with the state guidelines. So I do need a motion on this, item number 15.
I'll move approval, second reading revision of board policies.
Second?
It's been moved by Kendall, second by Santos to approve item number 15.
Kendall?
Yes.
Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Item number 16. Now here's another group of first reading, revision of board policies, administrative regulations, and exhibits. Dr. Fawcett.
Thank you, President Martin. And this is the first reading. And just like the previous items, these are all policies that have been updated by the California School Boards Association to align with current laws and policies from the state. None of these are adjusted with local language. They're all required changes that we need to make, and each of the departments have had the opportunity to review these. And with that, I am here to answer any questions you have. I am not asking for action, as this is a first reading only.
Does anyone have questions for Dr. Fawcett on these items? No? Okay, I'm going to open it up to public comment. This is item number 16, first reading, revision of board policies, administrative regulations, and exhibits. Would anyone like to provide public comment? Seeing no movement, I'm going to close it to the audience and bring it back to the board for comments. Anyone on the board want to make comments? Well, I do, because I read them all. So first off, I just wanted to share some of the really good things that are in these policies. On page 47, policy 5022, student and family privacy rights. This might be something you might be interested in. It talks about how the superintendent or designee is prohibited from collecting, disclosing, or using a student's individually identifiable information, including his or her name, parent guardian's name, home or other physical address, telephone number, or social security number for the purpose of marketing or selling that information or providing the information to others for that purpose. So for instance, when our high schools have scholarship applications, the parents have to sign them because they're being willing to give those scholarship applications to service groups in the area, like their identifiable information, like their address, their phone number, their GPA, those kind of things that normally a person from the community can't just go walk into a high school campus and ask for that kind of information. But if a student's applying to a scholarship, they and their parent can sign and say, yes, I give permission to share that because they want to win that award. On page 55, we talked about some of the awards that we give here at the district, like the Golden State Seal, the Seal of Biliteracy, and the State Seal of Civic Engagement, which I know Napomo High School does, and I talked to Dr. Fawcett about this today, how much I'd like to encourage our other high schools to take a look at that State Seal of Civic Engagement and maybe participate in that, because I think it talks about demonstrating a competent understanding of U.S. and the California Constitution, functions and governance of local governments, tribal government structures and organizations, the role of the citizen in a constitutional democracy, and democratic principles, concepts, and processes. These are things we all want our students to know. And then lastly, way back, this was 115 pages of policy. So on page 85, we're talked about freedom of speech and expression for not just our staff, but our students. And it talks about things that we don't allow our students to do, like use obscene, libelous, or slanderous speech, promote drug use or other illegal activities. They don't want students to have expressions that incite students as to create a clear and present danger of the commission of unlawful acts. And it was just amazing, all the things that they thought about in these provisions. Really, really drilling deep into what is good for kids and what we need to steer them away from. So I read all the pages. That's the first reading. I'm not going to read it again. Okay, I'm looking for a motion for
This is the first reading.
First reading, no motion. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I knew I needed you. Okay, Item number 17 is action, expulsion, student discipline case numbers 2324-045, 2425-21, 2425-24, and 2425-25, and 2425-26, and those are not lottery numbers. Ms. Kendall.
Okay, there's several here. The first one is on readmission. The Board of Education finds, I would like to move approval of this. The Board of Education finds that the request for readmission of student case number 23-24-045 on the May 21st, 2024 Governing Board packet be approved. The board finds that the student has completed the terms of their expulsion rehabilitation plan and is ready to return to a comprehensive school campus of the Lucia Mar Unified School District.
Second.
It's been moved by Kendall, second by Stewart. Roll call vote, please.
Kendall?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0.
Okay, I want to move agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion. The Board of Education finds there is cause to expel from all schools in the district student case number 24-25-21 for violation of Education Code Section 48900A1. It is further moved that the board adopt the recitals, agreements, rehabilitation plans, and readmission review date set forth in the January 28th, 2025 agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion.
Second.
Moved by Kendall, second by Santos.
Kendall?
Yes.
Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0.
Okay. I move agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion. The Board of Education finds there is cause to expel from all schools in the district student case number 24-25-24 for violation of Education Code Section 48900A1 and 48900.4. It is further moved that the board adopt the recitals, agreements, rehabilitation plans, and readmission review dates set forth in the January 13, 2025 agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion.
It's been moved by Kendall, second by Santos. Roll call vote, please.
Kendall?
Yes.
Yes. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0.
I would like to move agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion and suspension of expulsion. The Board of Trustees finds there is cause to expel student case number 24-25-25 from all schools in the district for violation of Education Code Sections 48900A2 and 48900A1. It is further moved that the board adopt the recitals, agreements, rehabilitation plan, and readmission review date as set forth in the March 4th, 2025 agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion and suspension of expulsion.
Second.
It's been moved by Kendall, second by Stewart. Roll call vote, please.
Kendall?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0. And lastly,
I move for agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion. The Board of Trustees finds there is cause to expel student case number 24-25-26 from all schools in the district for violation of Education Code Sections 48900A2 and 48900A1. It is further moved that the board adopt the recitals, agreements, rehabilitation plan, and readmission review date as set forth in the March 6, 2025 agreement and stipulation for immediate expulsion.
Second.
it's been moved by Kendall, second by Stewart. Roll call vote, please.
Kendall?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes, motion passes 6-0. And for those of you that are new to public education, a lot of times we have more discipline matters later in the school year because they've had a lot of chances and they finally ran out of chances. So we're moving on to public comment on items not on the agenda. I have 3 speaker cards here. If there's speaker cards out in the foyer, if anyone would like to fill one out, and I read with you earlier about public comment that it will be no more than 3 minutes. There's a little light thing over here, just like a stoplight, and no more than 20 minutes on any item. There's 4 there. Oh, I have 4. Okay. All right. So I'm going, uh-oh. So that's why I wanted to see them, because I wanted to see if they're all the same thing. Then we're going to.
That one more coming up.
All right, so I'm going to limit it to 2 minutes because I have a feel. I'm going to limit it to 2 minutes. If anyone else joins in afterwards, because all of these are on the same item, an item that was pulled, agenda item 14, title 9. So since I have many cards, it's going to be limited to 2 minutes because we don't do more than 20 minutes on the same agenda item on the same topic. So I'm gonna read 3 out first. It's gonna be Poland, then Kessler, then Wallace. So Mr. Poland, if you'd like to come forward and provide your public comment, we'd like to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Poland. I'm a resident of the district and got 3 grown children, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And first, I want to thank you all for your service. It can be a thankless job, and it is appreciated. My understanding is that agenda item 14 was supposed to make changes to the Title IX rules, and I read through the 2024 rules and your proposed new rules, and I couldn't see any real changes. And so I assume it got pulled because you are going to reconsider or relook at it. And so I just wanted to point out a couple things to consider, or a thing. Where possible, schools should make reasonable accommodations for special needs. Those accommodations, however, must not become unreasonable interruptions to the education of the rest of the student body. For example, students with ADHD are often given IEPs to help them succeed. Those accommodations don't, hopefully, burden too much the other student population. Similarly, the Americans with Disability Act does the same kind of thing. It asks facilities and places open to the public to bear the burden of making these accommodations without burdening the people that are the customers and those who use them. So what I'm concerned about is that those 2024 Title IX regulations turned that on its head and placed too much of the burden on the school population to serve the needs of a small group. It especially burdened girls. And so forcing all students to sacrifice their gender-specific activities to accommodate the needs of a few exceptional students is entirely unfair and unreasonable. And I'm sure, as you're aware, many students have left the district to homeschool or private school, which actually burdens all the students here with the reduced income or revenue to the school. So if the board would like to offer gender-specific or accommodations such as showers and bathrooms and whatnot for students with special needs, by all means do, but not on the backs of the rest of the students in the rest of the student body. Thank you.
Shannon Kessler.
Good evening, board members, and like the previous speaker, I thank you for your service. I am the mother of 2 Lucia Mar students, former parent volunteer and PTA president at Ocean View School. And I'm also concerned about Title IX and item 14 that was pulled. I'd like you to consider my own personal story, which is anecdotal, and however, it's my own lived experience as a California public school student. If you continue on this path with Title IX, using that as justification to limit the rights of girls, then my generation, I'm in my 50s, Gen X, you could say, will have seen the beginning and the end of girls' sports. Title IX passed in 1972. Before that, there really wasn't girls' sports. I asked my mom, did you play sports in school? She's like, well, we did some basketball and we wore these long culottes. They didn't compete against other girls. They didn't compete against other schools. When I was a child, my brother competed in league sports as in the 70s. There was nothing like that for me till I got to junior high and high school. I was a basketball player, a very active student and athlete. If this continues, then girls' sports will have been destroyed within my generation. So I think that's unfair and it's abuse of Title IX. I'm pleased that Title IX brought opportunities to girls and women in sports at every age. Please don't take this away. Please consider the decision you're making and how it discriminates particularly against girls by bringing biological males into their sports, which puts them at risk of physical harm. There's evidence of this, and it puts them in harm's way emotionally and socially by having biological males in their private spaces. It also places you and us, because our tax dollars support you, at great risk for lawsuits, not to mention the danger it puts girls in. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather Wallace.
Hello. For more than 50 years, the federal government has recognized the need for formal sex segregation in sports. The practice firmly grounded in physical reality, science, and biology. Gender ideology holds that people's beliefs should take precedence over biological facts. They believe a transgender status should grant males access to girls' and women's athletic competitions, locker rooms, and intimate sex-segregated spaces. I strongly oppose this view. There are significant differences between the sexes which render direct competition between males and females unfair in gender-affected sports. Peer-reviewed scientific literature finds evidence that on average males have 40 to 50% greater upper limb strength and 20 to 40% greater lower limb strength. The muscle strength, physiological, and size differences are reflected in sporting performance, with males having 10 to 12% faster times for most linear swimming and running events, 20% better results in jumping events, and 35% greater weightlifting ability in weight-matched males and females. This is not hate, this is fact. You cannot support male athletes in female sports while supporting the hundreds of female athletes who attend school at the Lucia Mar Unified School District. It is stated in the mission of LMUSD to engage, challenge, and inspire all students to be lifelong learners and achieve their full potential. LMUSD has put an emphasis on all by capitalizing it in their printed mission statement. The policy to include males in female sports and allow them in spaces that should be protected for females does not support all students. It caters to the feelings of a select few. I have always taught my children, both of who either attend or have attended LMUSD schools, that decisions should not be made on feelings. While there is a place for feelings, decisions must be made on logic that is grounded in fact. I ask that the board consider the fact that allowing males in female sports and spaces goes against logic and fact and against the very mission statement of this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Stover.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Stover. I live in Oceano, and my son graduated from school here a number of years ago now. I'm here tonight to speak for members of our community who are being targeted by the government, their existence questioned, their right to pursue happiness curtailed, and their right to agency over their bodies taken away. There are a minority of people in our district who would like to disappear from our culture all people whose gender identity doesn't fit their belief system. This is unacceptable. Issues of gender and sexuality are deeply personal, unique, and individual. Our children and their families have the right to make their own decisions about these issues without being harassed or bullied. I have read the 2020 Title IX Lucia Mar Unified School District policy defining language and prohibiting gender-based discrimination. It is imperative that we stand with our non-gender conforming kids and staff members by keeping in place the 2020 policies. I encourage you to stand up to the bullies in Washington and in our community. Do not let them disappear these children. Let their families know we see them, we accept them, and we respect them and their decision. Thank you for all you do for all of our kids.
Thank you. Okay, next one, Elizabeth Poland.
Good evening. My name is Betsy, and I have been a resident of the Central Coast for 35 years and been in the education industry for almost 25 years of that. I'm currently a tutor and a teacher for a local charter school, and I work with up to 30 children per week from the ages of kindergarten to 12th grade. I'm here tonight to voice a growing concern that I see in my business and the educational community. Over the past decade, I've seen a huge increase in the homeschool community. In fact, it's grown exponentially recently, and as well as families choosing to use private and charter schools for their education instead of public schools. I'm concerned about this. I'm a product of the public schools and the California universities. I feel the public schools should be a wonderful and a beautiful option for the community. But I'm concerned that the community's trust and support and faith is being lost, and people are veering away from the public schools. I feel like a neutral stance maybe on many issues needs to be taken. When I take on a new family and students, I always poll them as to why have they pulled their kids out of school, and why are they not choosing to even put them in the first place. And close to 100% of them have stated that the reasons are related to the sexual discrimination and the gender issues that were scheduled for the agenda on the agenda tonight. In addition, these parents that I'm working with sadly feel that they have no say and no rights when it comes to these issues, and that the students have had to stand up and take charge for what they believe and take a stand student to student, which might be a great solution and maybe a civics lesson for a high schooler, but for an elementary school student, this is wrong. From my perspective, I'm hoping that the Title IX rules from 2020 are what are reinstated, and that you continue to take the pulse of the community because it affects everybody. The loss of funds and the loss of attendance is affecting the entire student body community. Thank you very much for your time.
Gina Whitaker.
Good evening. I'm Gina Whitaker, a 44-year resident of Arroyo Grande, parent of two Lucia Mar students from AGSH, graduated classes of 92 and 2000, as well as a Lucia Mar substitute teacher of many years. We're currently living in a different time from when my sons attended Harlow, Judkins, and AG High School. Although culture may change, some things that never go out of style are respect, safety, fairness, and equity for students throughout their 12 years of public school education. Many things have changed in the leadership of our country since January 20th, 2025. Certainly, the turmoil in which we are living every day has increased. Institutions that have been part a deep part of our culture, have been ruptured and disrupted. I dare say the people in this room and on this board probably never expected to wake up one morning to face the loss of the Department of Education. Many of the changes we're experiencing are altering the rights and privileges that we fought long and hard to bring about. And one of those has been Title IX and the language we use to assure student safety and equity when it comes to sexual discrimination. In preparation for a future discussion of these issues by this board, I would like to go on record as supporting all language that protects our students from any possible discrimination based on their sex or sexual expression. I support all forms of personal sexual identities and all of our trans and questioning students. The freedom to identify ourselves as we experience ourselves is a freedom that must be protected. Additionally, I support resistance against arbitrary federal interference against such freedoms by this board and by this school district. Frankly, the very lives of our students are at risk. If the board would take a look at suicide rates among transgender students in any of the recent studies, you would begin to understand the dire importance of protecting students from this kind of discrimination. I will attend any future meetings of this board at which the adjustments and realignments of the language in Title IX to reconcile state and federal discrepancies is discussed. I'll continue to express my concern and fear that we may be jeopardizing our students' safety and well-being, as well as their self-respect and their equilibrium. Thank you very much.
All right, I have Penny and then Ted Elric, if either one of you want to go first or second. We're almost to our 20 minutes here, so.
I will keep mine really brief. I just wanted to bring up a couple of points, and that is that last November, a majority of America decided that the ideology of transgenderism isn't where we want to go. 65% of Democrats nationwide say we shouldn't have men in women's sports. 67% of California Democrats say we shouldn't have men in women's sports. And we currently have a letter from our AG, Pam Bondi, saying we're going to take action. Lucia Mar receives over $4 million from federal monies. Can we lose it? See, I don't think so. I want to say thank you.
All right. Ted Elric.
I'll just add a little to that as well. This group in front of me, and thank you for postponing this and giving this issue the seriousness that it deserves. Was really glad to hear that. We came here to speak to this, and so we're not don't know if we're gonna get a chance later, if we'll be able to be here, so we wanted to speak. The majority of people are opposed to men and women's sports. But it kind of baffles my mind that a group would consider going so far against the public and against the vast, vast majority of girls and women in sports. Our daughter was a two-sport varsity athlete, an All-American collegiate athlete. She wouldn't even have been able to make a team if she had had to compete against boys and men. So I'm wondering if it's indicative that you're considering this of an ideology. And if it is indicative of an ideology, that's something that's going to make our family and hundreds of families like us keep their kids and their students from going to Lucia Mar School District if that's the kind of choices that you'll be making. So you're going to shoot yourselves in the foot and fail as a board if you can continue to make decisions and make this, if you would approve this the way that it was laid out to be voted on tonight. So hopefully you'll consider that.
Thank you. Abby Lassen.
Good evening. I am Abby Lassen, a mother of two students who attended Nepoma High. I'm also here because I've been active since its inception of a group called the Central Coast Coalition for Inclusive Schools. It has been committed to creating safe school communities in which all students are free to realize their true full potential and supports families of all students. I would like you, if you have the time, to go to the website, www.centralcoastinc inclusiveschools.net, where you can find resources, including the most recent Healthy Kids survey and going back to 2013. You can read the data for yourself, as Gina alluded. The mental health, the safety, the bullying, harassment issues are compounded for transgender students as well as those who are on the spectrum of LGBTQ. And I think that tonight you are hearing heartfelt comments from various members of the community, but I want you to keep in mind the safety and the needs of all students tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other person who would like to make public comment on items not on the agenda? Then you need to come to the podium. Please come to the podium and state your name.
Hi, my name's Paul Masters. I'm a owner broker of a little brokerage company, Ma and Pa, here in the community. My wife and I have been here for 20 years. And before that, I was an Orchid resident for 25 years. And there's been a few things said here tonight that just kind of puzzle me. It's in my mind a little bit blasphemy that we're even having these conversations. It's a case of safety. Somebody just brought up safety for our kids. I just want to bring up a quick biology fact. The average height of a male basketball player in high school is 6 foot. His wingspan's 5'6". His jumping height is 28 inches. The average height of a female high school athlete in basketball is 5'6", 6 inches less. The wingspan is 5'2", and the average jumping is 20 inches. We have multiple incidences nationwide of women permanently damaged, paralyzed from male participating in female sports. If that's not an eye-opener for us, I don't know what is. I have 2 twin granddaughters that were born 9 weeks ago. That's part of my heart. My son graduated from Arroyo Grande High School about the time Mike Mustafa was athletic director. And the times have turned. It's just, I can't even believe we're here having these conversations, guys. I just want to give my heart out there because I have a lot of heart for a lot of what they're bringing up. But the answer isn't just one big old happy ball of wax and everybody's going to be fat and sassy. It's not anything like that. There's got to be another way. Let's please protect our kids. Reflect on some of the Bible in Matthew 8. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're at public comment on items not on the agenda. Would anyone else in the audience like to provide public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, just so you know, we're closing public comment to the Title IX because we're way over the 20 minutes.
Yeah, I heard you address that. Okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask, I missed it earlier when you addressed approval of last board meeting's minutes. I know that you said you had a technical difficulty, so there was no recording on the video that you posted online. Was there actually someone taking those minutes in person at that board meeting?
I know.
And when a community member requested to California Public Records Act the original video, because there's some suspicion that it wasn't a technical difficulty, but they just wanted to review the original, why the district did not comply with law or acknowledge it? I know that was sent to Miss Raquel. Can that original be made available to the public maybe tomorrow? I'd love to have a copy of it.
The video is posted online, and Ms. Lujano takes notes during the meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
The video is posted online. In fact, I looked at our last meeting online, and we take notes of the meeting, like who speaks and what the motions are, seconds, what the vote is, those kind of things?
Correct. It's posted to YouTube, but that's not the original format. And when somebody submits a California Public Records Act and asks for the original copy, you would need to supply that. As when you upload it to YouTube, that changes the data that you can go and look at and see if anything was changed to remove that voice recording. But that hasn't been provided, and it's been ignored, and it's been past the 10 days to acknowledge the CPRA. Is there a reason the district doesn't want to provide that, or can I have a copy of that original email to me?
That's the original as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I don't know.
watched all of them, including the small little part at the beginning where before closed session, and it too had no audio.
Correct.
There's another version of it. I'm happy to provide it to you. I will check with our IT department tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to provide public comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment on items not on the agenda and go for adjournment. Our next meeting is April 15th, tax day 2025. Thank you, and we're adjourned.